What's up, guys? It's your host Spartanic Arts DXD back with another high school DXD related video, and today we have What If Issei Was Betrayed, part 17. If at all possible, let's try to hit 300, maybe 200 likes for this video. And if you guys want to know exactly when I upload / my upload schedule, click the little blue button right next to the subscribe button and become one of our members today. It's also the first link in the description, the first link in the comments, and the first link in the premiere for the 50, 100 people in here. You guys are real ones, for real. With all that being said, without further ado, let's go and thank my balance breakers and Juggernaut Drive members, which is Lachlan Yates, Ant Lewis, Anthony Lewis, Cool Ninja 12, and Night Ammo. Thank you so much for becoming a balance breaker / Juggernaut Drive member. I seriously do appreciate you guys. Also, obviously, thank you to my Patreon members: Smells Noise, Lachlan Yates, Godkiller, Dragon33171, Mark Bacon, Lord Fluff, and Just_Zeke. Thank you so much for becoming a Patreon member, where I'll post other exclusive content on there or early releases as well. Now, with all that being said, ladies and gentlemen, the reason why it took so long to get this next part out is because my computer storage broke. So we're now back on track once again with weekly or 2 uploads a week, but I also we hit 400,000 subs. I don't really know what to do at this point. I've been posting a lot of shorts and those have been doing really well, if you haven't been able to notice, but I either want to upload for a week straight, or I want to start like two series together and post those at like the same time. Tell me what story to even do in the comment section down below. I know this intro is taking kind of long, but I need your guys' opinion. Tell me what you guys want in the comments and I'll just do it. What type of story? Link the story, join my Discord, and then link the story to me or send it to me through my business email or something. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and get into part 17. Chapter 19. Issei woke up and found himself spooning Irina, who was still asleep, looking down. He saw that their hands were still clasped. They enjoyed the movie together, enjoyed the visual effects. Issei enjoyed them the most as he likes to work with the VFX animation software in his free time. Irina found it compelling how two people, complete strangers, came together to raise a child. When the movie had ended, Issei had moved the trays off the bed and put away Irina's tablet and earbuds so they could sleep. It felt nice to have her in his arms again. He began to move his hand, but felt Irina hand clasps tighter. Irina? Irina? Are you awake? Issei says. All he got was her exhaling and shifting, her waiting to him by grinding her butt into his groin. It did make him groan a little as it felt nice. Of course, he knew it would feel better without their clothes on. He shifted his head back, and giving in to his lust, it could make her fall, and he didn't want that. Irina? Issei says, nudging her side with each syllable, but she didn't move as he sighed. Alright, let's see. He began to shift his body until he was able to get out of bed. However, their hands were clasped together, which made him chuckle. I guess I'll have to take you with me, as I should have done all those months ago, Issei says. It was a struggle, but he managed to pull her arm over his shoulder, so he could carry her on his back. It seemed that she had a sense to wrap her legs around his waist. Her head was next to his, but she remained sleeping, his other arm wrapped behind him to keep her steady. It was tempting to squeeze her butt, but he restrained himself. It felt nice and rounded. He felt that she trained, so his figure had developed over the months. He began to, I hope I don't get demonetized for this beginning of part, but whatever. He began to walk to the bathroom and then realized that he couldn't do anything if she was on his back. Both of his hands were occupied, so she sighed and went back to sit on the bed. With a sigh, he leaned onto his back, or rather onto Irina's, since she was on his back. I guess I'll lay here until you realize I'm crushing you, and you decide to get up, Issei says as he closed his eyes. Several minutes later, he felt a pulse of magic and felt grip on his hand tighten even more. It made him smirk as she knew that he had woken her up if she was consciously using magic. I knew that would wake you up. Mourn as he went to turn his head, he felt her lips press against his. You used to wake me up like that when it was just the two of us in Co before you left. Guess you were right. We do need to reconnect if you forgot how to wake me up, Irina says. I'm sorry, but it seems you learned from your mistake about slapping me. But could you let go of my hand, Issei says. No, I will re-release my magic. Which she did, and Issei felt the pressure on his hand lessen. Come on, let's get ready, Issei says, loosening her legs from around him and getting up before pulling her to her feet. You got a date with the girls? And you got a date with the parents. You seem to know something about that, Irina says. I do. I'll tell you later, okay? Issei replied. No more secrets between us. What is it now, Irina says. I have a surprise for you, but you won't be getting it now. I'm sorry that I can't tell you what it is, but you said no secrets, and I know that I can't lie to you, Issei says. You can't lie to anyone, darling. It's literally your name, she deadpanned. Right. I'm going to leave you in suspense about the surprise then, Issei says. It seems so. Also, do you need to go to your room? Irina replies. Huh? Why? Issei said. Because you don't have a toothbrush, silly. I guess you're right. So get going. I'll see you there, Irina says, as she began to pushing him out of the room. Besides, you and I got a date down the road. That's right. Okay, I'll see you in the dining hall. See you then, Irina says. Can I get a kiss to go? Issei replies. Fine, give him a quick kiss, and then turning to the head to the bathroom. Also, don't forget to take the trays, Irina says. That was the last thing he heard as he shut the door to the bathroom, which made him chuckle. He grabbed trays and then he grabbed the trays and then he exited the room and took them towards the room. He left them outside of his room and sensed that no one was in his room, so he walked in. He deduced that Minerva roomed with Invigold and maybe Orpheus, Lilith, and Kano. He quickly got himself ready, brushing his teeth and taking a quick shower. Thanks to the healing factor, he got rid of the bandages. He felt refreshed, and then he realized that he hadn't asked Irina what she would be studying in his university. He wondered if it had something to do with her love of baking bread or possibly management, since her mother runs a restaurant. He got dressed and headed out to the dining hall. It was then that he realized it was rather freaking early in the morning. He sensed that the others were still in their rooms, except one person, that person enjoying her tea in the dining hall, of course. Issei got to greet her after not seeing her for so long. It's good to see you again, Bachan. Walking up to her, Issei says, Oh, look at you. You look more handsome this time around. As she held her arms open and Issei bent down to hug her. I didn't realize how early it was in the morning, Issei says. Oh, yes, the girls and parents were in major gossip. Well, the mothers were, at least. Go figure, Issei says. Yeah, Garo, Toji, and Serzex distanced themselves, but eventually they had to return. I will miss my dear great-grandchild, Haruto says. Ah, you met Iri-chan. She's adorable, Issei says. Now I will wait for a few from you, Haruto says. What? Issei says, as he got himself some tea. I'm not dumb, boy. You certainly have been busy since the last time I saw you. At least you got Iri-chan back. You shouldn't have to worry about her parents. What do you mean? Issei says. You know what I mean. You're going to ask them to marry her, aren't you? You're such a traditionalist, Issei Naruto says. Yeah, I'm sure they will want to see her ring or rings since Kasan and Tosan adopted Minerva and Imigold as their daughters, so they would be ecstatic for me to marry them. But I don't want to talk too much about it because Irina should be coming here soon. I don't think she realized the time either, but she's getting ready. I want to surprise her with this. She already gave me a surprise yesterday. Oh, really? Naruto says. Yeah, she's transferring to my school, so we'll be living together again. Issei says, and he chuckled. Now, you two are older. I'm sure you won't be such troublemakers like you were before. Though I guess I should blame your grandfather for that, since you took both his perversion, but you also inherited his dream. Maybe I should have pushed you to go to church, but I learned that there was none after Irina-chan's family left. Naruto says, yeah, it was because of my love in a way. Issei says, Naruto says, well, someone on Toji's side fell in love with a demon at the time. There was no alliance at the time, so an exorcist was a demon was prohibited. The demon in question, her name was Cleara, BL. She investigated a secret about a piece called King Piece, a faction among the demons known as the Great Faction, learned of her discovery, and King Piece said in the process. Her relationship to Masamomi Yagagi, as a result of the faction allied with her church under the pretext to break up. The relationship between her and Masamoni, when in actuality, they were just trying to keep the King Piece a secret. How interesting. But weren't you and Irina-chan part of two sides? It says, yes, Irina walks in. We were some that would believe that Cleara's relationship with Masamomi was parallel to Issei's kind of relationship to Azia, but it's actually parallel to our relationship. We were on two sides. We faced him in heaven with Azia and Zenobia. Good morning, Bachan. Irina says, good morning, Irina. How was your sleep? Haruto says, it was good, as she hugged her grandmother figure. That's good. As Issei went to get a cup of tea for Irina. So how are you two doing? Haruto says, we're a work in progress. Issei says, yes, but we will be living together again as I'll be transferring to Issei-kun's university, Irina says. That's a start for both of you, but Irina-chan, you've been in love with Issei for 12 years. That is correct, Irina says. Issei, you need to match your love. You wouldn't have won anyone if it weren't for her. You do understand that, right? Haruto says. Issei replied, you silly boy. She laughed. Sometimes you never know how lucky you are to have someone love you for so long. Well, yeah, Issei replied. I've been living for a long time, I will admit. I did wish that you would have told him that you were a girl back then. I wonder how much you would have been perverted. Would you have done right by her? Haruto says. Yes, Issei replied. But yet you left her, Haruto replied. Yeah, I did. I wouldn't have done right by her. I don't think I ever have, Issei says. Remember what Kokaville did, Drake says. What did this Kokaville do? Haruto says. Remember how it made you feel, Drake says, as Issei gritted his teeth. He threw Irina's body so carelessly, clenching his fist. She was attacked. His accomplice freed, and him hurt her. And I wasn't strong enough to do anything. I wanted to beat them and pulverize them, but I was weak. I needed to beat them, but I could do nothing. Then Volley came in and took out Kokaville effortlessly. He was on the level that I was not yet. I tried to face him, but I lost. I should have requested to train to get stronger. Instead, I fell into Rias' sweet words and didn't do anything much. I needed to do better. I have to do better or I'll lose everything, staring at his grandmother. Issei, Irina says, reaching for his hand. That is what you must do together, Haruto says. A relationship is about facing tough stuff together, learning and growing. Since you were a battle, think of it as the same. You need to adapt, overcome, and keep pushing forward. It's not always easy, but it's real. While Issei nodded. I understand. Rubbing Irina's hand, while she rubbed his and looked at his mate. You got me and I got you. I promised you that, Issei said. It's why we're a team, Irina replied. Always, Issei said. Good. Now, unfortunately, you two are going to be separate for today, Haruto says. We're aware of that, Bachan, Irina replied. Yes. Yeah, she'll be with the girls and I'll be with the parents. And me too, of course. You know your parents want me to move in with them. You should. You'll be much closer, Issei says. I know, but I would like your opinion about something. I'd like to sign over my house to the both of you, Haruto says. The both of us, Irina replied. Yes, it could be your little love nest. You have memories there, so I figured, who better than you two? But also thinking to herself, it would be a nice wedding present as well, Haruto says. What do you think? Issei replies, turning to Irina. Huh? Should we take it? We did have memories there. It's the last thing we have left. Considering that house I used to live in is no more, your former house has been grammarified, so why not? Let's do it, Irina says. Okay, Issei replied, turning back to his grandmother. We'll take it, Bachan. Wonderful. Then you can help me move when the time comes, Haruto says. You got it, Bachan. Oh, morning, Minerva, Immigold. Good morning. Morning. So, first wife, are you excited for today? Minerva says. Please just call me Irina. Irina replies, oh, but I must respect your rank and your power. I wonder if it's possible for you to use your light dragon slayer magic, Minerva says. Wouldn't that be the opposite to your shadow dragon slayer magic that you obtained, Issei says? Yes, but your magic is imbued in her. So it may be possible since she can use holy flames because of the fire attribution in your magic. Maybe the dragon aura that is imbued and could also be applied to the holy magic that she possesses. We won't know until she trains it, Immigold says, which I will be doing with my former partner, Irina replies. Oh, the blueberry, Minerva says, making Irina laugh. Yes, the blueberry. Oh, I see, to have them. Since I couldn't yesterday, I will also need to speak with Sekibera again to get her cousin, so I can talk with Ajuka as I looked at Irina. It's fine. I'm going to be training with her. I have to get used to her again, Irina says. Minerva, you should join them. Sanji is also training with Tani and Oji-san. He would be a capable partner for you or Oji-san's son. I believe his name is Bova, Issei says. It's been a while since I have used that magic. I suppose I will need to use them to detect my teleportation magic. I will also need to speak with the Nynx about a war god magic, Minerva says. Do you have to? Issei says. Yes, I will be also to ask if I can work with a maid from that team. The Ice Witch, Immigold says. Ice Witch. Oh, you mean Lavinia. I suppose you can work with Ravel-chan. I need to speak with her about my gift I received from Team Slashdog, Issei says. It seems we have our training planned out, Irina replied. You have to tell them, Irina. Huh? Oh. I will also be your new housemate, Irina says. Ah, now I can cuddle with you and talk about Issei's past. Immigold, keep her at bay, Issei says. Understood, Immigold replied. Don't ruin my fun. This is an important time to learn how you were a kid, Minerva says. Then just ask my parents, which, by the way, good morning, Kasan, Yaxa-san, morning, To-san, and... There, my princess. Good morning, Lilo-chan, Kano-chan. How are you, Orphus-san? Fine, Orphus replied. Morning, Bachan, as emotionless as ever, but still having to hug her grandmother as she wiped her eyes. Morning, Kano says. It seems that you all have a good night, yes? Elsa says. Oh, we were up talking all night, Miki says. Very unbefitting of a queen, Yaxa says as she sighed, placing her hand to her face. Good morning, Mama, Papa, Irina says. Morning, Toji-san, Miki Obi-san. Good morning. As she stretched, I hope they can handle the restaurant with me, Mizuki says. If there's a problem, they'll call. And good morning, Toji says. I feel like I was ignored by my own family, deadpanning, as his little sisters have yet to acknowledge him and were soaking up their grandmother's love and attention. Let them enjoy. Not many grandmothers out there, and it's still first time experiencing one. So let them enjoy the moment, Drake says. I guess you're right, Issei replied. So when do you girls plan on leaving for your girls today? Mizuki says, not sure. We can talk after breakfast, I suppose. That's fair. Don't forget we all have to talk with you, son, Goro says. I'm well aware, Issei replied. I cannot wait for you to what you have in store with us. Then her voice turned grim. Don't mess this up, Mizuki says. The shocking change of tone scared Issei, and then he realized that it was possible that Irina had this trait as well. He slowly looked at the angel, who looked back at him in confusion. Luckily, Lilith was able to divert her attention from her grandmother. Good morning, Oni-chan, Lilith says. How did you sleep? Kano says. We slept fine after our movie. Movie? What did you watch? Kano says. It was a monster film. You may not be old enough, well, maybe not here in Japan, but it could be different elsewhere. Okay, Kano says. We'll find something for us to watch together, maybe on Christmas. Okay, Kano said, perking back up again. I hope not. We just took on a house together, Issei says. A house, Toji says? What are you talking about? Goro continues. Well, before you came, I suggested signing off my house to them, which they accepted as they noted that it was one of the last places they held fond memories of, Haruto says. So that means, Miki replied, yes. I will accept your offer of coming to live with you. I can be close to my grandchildren that way, Haruto says, rubbing Lilith's head. As this was happening, breakfast was being served to them for people that work in Yasu's palace. I don't think I'll get used to this, Mikushi says. I know, Toji replied as they were being served. It still takes time to get used to for me as well, even though I have been here a few times, Miki says. Oh, Issei, you should head to the underworld after our talk. I'm sure you know the reason why, and they want to speak with you about what, Goro says. Oh, yes. You documented those things? Well, what do you call them? Dead something, Miki says? Necromorphs, Kasan, but it seems what the factions were facing were just foot soldiers. Due to their dead properties, they are hard to kill. I guess I have the unfortunate circumstance with Imagold and Minerva about facing a few types of necromorphs most recently. The enhanced slasher with Kiba and Gasper, who I will need to visit as well, Issei says. Enhanced slasher, Irina replies. Michael didn't brief you on that. Issei says, he mentioned the base and you guys were covering the mission of Riser's Barrage, but not about what you face, so I assumed it was just slashers, Irina says. Well, the enhanced version can use magic. They can also have abilities one of the clans of the underworld, according to Gasper. The belief is the Bomb clan. So there's a possibility that there are enhanced versions of other necromorphs that you have faced, Irina says. Try not to talk about them where the food is present, dear. I don't want to upset my appetite, Yakuza says. Sorry, Issei replies. So what do you girls have planned out? Miki says. Well, I guess we'll be looking for Mokionos for the New Year's festival coming up, Minerva replies. And then maybe some lunch, Imula says. But overall, I would like to know about you, Irina. Not from what Issei has told us, if you don't mind, Minerva says. It would make sense, since I am going to be living with you. I think this will give me a better gauge of who you are as well, Irina says. If at any point you feel uncomfortable with Minerva's questioning, please let me know. I'll be sure to put her in check, Imagold says. You're no fun, Imagold, she pouted, while Imagold simply smiled at her displeasure. I'll keep that in mind. Thank you, Irina says, feeling a little more at ease. The parents had their own conversation while Kano and Lilith were telling Haruto things they have done. They really enjoyed the prospect of having a grandmother around. Orphis quietly ate her food, and it was then that Issei noticed that she had changed to a teenaged form. Oh, Orphis, you changed your form again. Yes, this one felt more appropriate, as Lilith is the baby of the family, Orphis says. Even changed. You're still emotionless, Issei says. He deadpanned. Perhaps, Orpha says, shrugging her shoulders as she continued to eat. With breakfast finished, the girls decided to change for their outing in Kyoto. They had to dress accordingly since there was snow outside, so they needed to be bundled up, but not too much. Meanwhile, it was just left Issei stuck with the parents, Yakuza, his grandmother, Orphis. From the stares he was getting from the parents, he knew it wasn't getting help from Yakuza, Haruto, nor Orphis, who was watching in amusement. So he said, what are you waiting for? Issei replied, show us the ring that you're going to give our daughter, Mizuki says. Oh. Not while they're still here, and besides, I want your permission first. She is someone precious to me. Toji Omi-san, I know you apologized about being incompetent for what you had done for all those years ago, but you were not. Sure, it did take Irina out of my life for a long while, but in the end, she found her way back to me. Knowing about my perversion for years, she never irritated her love for me. She only remained in conflict because we were opposing sides. I would say That was the only downside of her leaving, but I was able to find companionship in my best friend, Kiba Yuto, and my kohai, Gasper Valadi, along with my other teammate, Ross Visa, so it's not too bad. What I did worse, I separated myself from her, when I should have taken her with me. I learned that love has its struggles, and I need to match her love, which is why I'm asking for your daughter's hand in marriage. I don't want your daughter. It's a matter that I need her. Ever since I met her, she has done nothing but light up my world since I was 5, and I need her to be there to continuing lighting up from bleak future. I want to be able to wake up every morning and see her smile on that sleeping face, like I was able to 18 months ago. Ha! You've always had my permission, son, Toji says. As you had mine, Mizuki says. I told you before that you were responsible for her, and I intend to honor that promise, Obi-san, Issei says. I know you will, Mizuki replied. Just don't break her heart again. I was worried that I had done that when I tried to strip her, Issei says. Oh, she complained about how you didn't care for anyone else to see your body, Toji says. I did care. Ugh, I forgot. Kiba was there. That would be awkward. Knowing that your best friend has seen your potential girlfriend naked, it makes me feel more grateful about retiring that move. Issei says, you and me both, Drake says. Oh, I'm sure you can use it in the bathroom when the time comes, making Issei blush. It's not like that, Issei replies. Okay, we're ready to go, Minerva says. As she and the other girls geared up. Ah, look at my Lilith hun. As all bundled, she was rubbing Lilith's cheeks. You look so lovely, Kanoyaxa says, rubbing her head. Stay warm and stay near Minerva and the Golden Irina. Do you understand? Yes, Okasama. The same goes for you, Lilith-chan, Goro says, rubbing her head. Okay, To-chan, Lilith will be good. Call if you need anything. We will, Imagul says. He gave kisses to each one of them, except he kills Lilith and Kano on their foreheads. Don't let them overwhelm you. Minerva's a handful, Issei says. I figured. Try not to die before the New Year's, Irina says. I won't. I want to go with you by my side, giving her a kiss with a little tongue that wasn't seen by anyone except Minerva and Imagul. Neither of the girl was jealous of the kiss, but really looking forward to hearing from Irina, not just about her past, but with Issei, but also with Zenobia. Trust us, we won't kill him, Mizuki says, but we may pester him to no end, and he'll come crying in your arms, as he hugged their daughter, who got a little embarrassed. Garu and Migi hugged Imagul and Minerva, while Kano and Lilith got hugs from Harato. There was just something about receiving a grandmother's love. The girls gave their goodbyes before exiting the palace with Issei waving them off. However, he felt a shift in the atmosphere once they were gone. He feared to turn around. Now then, Issei kind of, about those rings? Miki says. Yakuza-san, Issei replied. I'm sorry, dear, but I have to handle preparations for Ryoko's funeral, as she began to leave. Oh, huh? Seeing the other dragon goddess had left mysteriously, just like Falbium. Don't think of me asking for help. I already gave it to you, Harato says. Now it's time for you to face the music. No. Sooner than that, she said. Issei felt 2 hands clamp on his shoulders as he turned to the meeting smiling faces of his mother and his second mother figure. Now then, come along, Issei Mizuki says. Yes, let's see what you have to offer. You better do as she says, son, Goro says. I'm sure you'll make us proud, but don't think of escaping, Toji says. Does it look like I have a choice? As Toji looked at seeing Issei being dragged away by Mizuki and Miki, while maintaining a deadpan expression. I guess not, Toji replied. Eventually, Mizuki and Miki sat him down on the table. They were giddy like schoolgirls as their husbands joined them. Harato took the seat next to Issei and created a magic circle to bring out the 3 boxes. He opened each one, causing the parents to wow by the shine. This one is Irina's, Issei said, taking a circular one, passing it over to Mizuki, who gasped. Oh, honey, look, showing it to Toji. These ones are Imagul and Minerva's, as he brought forward the square-looking one, the oval one. Here you go, Bashan, Issei says. Now here's Imagul's ring. And here's Minerva's ring. He handed her the one he hoped to put on Imagul's ring, the square-looking one, while he passed the sharp oval one to his parents. This is Minerva's. Oh my, you really went all out, Miki says. The Yopai dragon was good for something, Issei replied. He heard a snort in the back of his mind from Drake. Ha! You truly are something. I'm sure your grandfather is smiling down at you, Harato says. I already had a girl in Irina. The rest just followed. I need to do right by her first, Issei says. Our baby is going to be taken care of, Toji, Mizuki says as she started crying. Yeah, she will, rubbing her shoulder. But tell us, does this mean that you two will use the room? Blushing at the question, my original plan was to do it with all the girls for the first time after we were engaged, but Mizuki says, well, one of the girls dropped on me, and Minerva kind of took advantage of me when I was in heat, thus I was ruined. And then Immigold and I did the incident with some food that was spiked. With Ravel, it was just kind of happened, so I kind of wanted it to be special. Maybe Christmas, Mizuki says. I don't know, but I'm looking to just spend time with her. Maybe she can show me around. But I may be tired, however, her energy will keep me up. I want to get that bakery, and I don't mean to offend, but I don't want her hindered by the church. I'd like to be able to come home and see her and our children. Mizuki, Miki, Goro, and Toji. Children? So you plan on having us grandchildren, Toji says. I'm so excited, Mizuki replies. Me too, Miki says. What a relief, Goro replied. Hey, it would only be after I finish college, mind you, Issei says. But that's years from now, Miki says. Yes, we can take care of your grandchildren for you. Just be patient, please. Irina was patient with me, so please be patient with us, Issei says. Haha, if you say so, Toji replied. It's not a problem for me. Soon, son, but we will certainly cannot survive another Deshazer incident, Goro says. I know. I already don't want to go through that again. I lost Ryoga. I have no intentions of ever losing anyone from this family. That includes you too, Obi-san, Oji-san, if I marry. Ahem, Mizuki says. Sorry, when I marry, Issei continues, but you are still family. I know we were all apart, so there is a lot for your parents to catch up on. I just wish that we kept in contact with each other. It would have been nice being able to talk to Irina, even if it was through letters. I feel like a part of me wouldn't have happened. Maybe getting letters from Irina would have built my confidence. It probably kept my perversion at bay. At least I would have known that I still have my best friend out there. He's right. We should have reached out, Miki says. Yeah, Mizuki replies. I always teased Irina about Issei still being out there for her. Well, of course. I was a pervert, and the only girl that wanted me and would be willing to help me get past the perversion. I sadly was too caught up with someone who kept instigating that side of me, rather than help me. I could have been better, but Irina, Issei says. What about her? Toji says. Unlike me, Issei continues, she grew to a beautiful woman, and any guy would want to be with her, whether alone or in their harem. Of course, her beliefs clashed with mine, because we were on opposite sides, but I still caught up with Rias. I wish I could have talked with her before she left with Excalibur fragments. I didn't do enough, but she still loved me. Bachan told me that I am going to find a girl that she's right, and I have no intention of losing her. That ring will seal the deal, but I want to evolve it to a wedding band, so the paperwork will know that I belong to her. I may be possessive, but that is because dragons are possessive of their treasures, and she is my treasure, one that I must protect at all costs. I am hers, and she is mine. I also belong to other women, and I intend to protect them with my life. You are my family, and I will protect you. Choji Oji-san, you said you were incompetent for not being able to prevent Masumi from falling in love. However, that was the parallel to my relationship to Irina. I will tell you that I was incompetent for not being able to come help you against him. Issei, Toji says. Son, Goro replies. No, I mean it. I was incompetent for not helping you from getting injured. I was incompetent for not preventing Rezavim and Dirishtar from getting you and Kasan, Tosan. I was incompetent for not being able to help Ryogo from being captured and turned into this abomination. I can't let that happen to any of you. Not now, not ever. I know Irina fears for me losing me enough time, so I want her to be by my side. I will protect her. I will protect Immigold, Minerva, Orpheus, Lilith, Kano, Yakuza, Bachan, Obi-san, Oji-san, Tosan, Kasan, all of you, because if I can't do that, then I failed my dream of peace, Issei says. That's a powerful conviction, my boy, Hirato says. I have to set one and not aimlessly live. I know I'm fighting Ares 4, Issei says. So what about the factions? They are looking for information, Toji says. I'll head to the Rose's place. Maybe Sekibera will be there. If not, I will contact her, Issei says. Well, it's nice to know that you have your goals set, Mizuki says, as she took a picture of the ring before closing the box and handing the box back to him. I know you'll stick by them. I agree. We have faith in you, Toji says. Also make sure to stay safe for your sake, Miki says, but try not to overlook yourself, okay? Goro replies, I will, Issei says. Just remember that you're not alone, Hirato replies. Thank you, Bachan, giving her a hug. His parents gave them those rings back as well as his mother. Like Mizuki taking pictures of both, after receiving them, he put them back in his storage space. I don't know when I'll be back, Issei says, but could you tell Yakuza and the other girls that I went to the underworld in case I am not back before they are? Of course, if you don't, Mizuki says, I would have left Irina again. I know, the only time we have leave each other is when you go back to England. That's true, Toji says. Stay safe, Issei. See you in the evening, Goro says. Do what you have to do, Hirato replied. Yeah, have a good day, Issei said, as he transported himself to Rose's place. I wish I was around more for his growth, Toji says. You had to leave because of your job in that incident, but this time, let's stay in contact for their sake, Rose says. I agree. Coming together after 12 years, it feels so long, but we were so close. I feel like us distancing each other could have harmed the relationship, Mizuki says. Yes, Irina would have curbed his perversion, considering how loyal he once was to Matsuda and Momohama. I think he had listened to Irina, maybe gave him a wake-up call, Miki says. She was always willing to help her friends, Mizuki said, just like he is, so it's not surprising that they meshed with each other, our little troublemakers. Indeed, Miki says, while Harato laughed. Now to the streets of Kyoto. Meanwhile, the girls were enjoying the sights and taking some samples of the food street vendors were selling. Kano and Lilith stayed near Irina, Invigold, and Minerva as instructed to, so they didn't run off. Of course, Lilith's mind would be cautious about everything, so they had to make sure that she didn't wander off, so Minerva kept an eye on her, in case she needed to use her teleport magic. Kano says, "Look, it's a kimono shop." Well, it's what we're looking for, Invigold says. Let's go inside and check out some of them for the festival. It'll be beating in this cold. Plus, we can ask Irina some questions in a quieter environment. Come on, Lilith-chan, taking the girls beforehand before she began to wander off. Minerva did. Lilith went to see the food that they had, pointing at the vendor. Well, we'll check it out after, Minerva says. We get you a kimono to show your Kachan. Okay? Okay, Lilith responds, but looked back at the food vendor. Don't worry, it'll still be there, Irina says. Help usher the girl into the shop. A sales associate walked up to them to greet them and assist them. Hello, what can I do for you today? The sales associate said. We're here to look at the kimonos, yukatas, and for an upcoming festival, Minerva says. I see, the sales associate replied. Well, we have a variety to choose from, and don't be afraid to enter our changing room in the back on the left. Thank you, Invigold replied, as they went to browse at what the shop had. Hey, look at this one, Kano says, pointing at the bright orange yukata. Yeah, a darker variation of the color would have been better. You think so, Kano says? Like a sunset orange, Irina replies. Correct. It's similar to how Kano's hair fades like the sunset, Minerva says. Oh, right, Kano says. What about you, Lilith-chan, Invigold says. I don't know. Something purple, Lilith replies. It would make sense to match the bracelet Issei gave you, Minerva says. I'm guessing that is where Kano got her necklace from, huh? Irina replied. Issei gave it to them. Now on to you, Minerva says. What about me? Irina replied. How did you meet the blueberry? Minerva says. I'll let the nickname go, considering all times that she called me self-proclaimed, but I guess it would start when I was 14, Irina says. 14? Invigold replies. I was chosen to become the wielder of Excalibur Mimic. I had chosen, following in my father's footsteps, to become a warrior. I didn't know why we had to move at the time, but I figured to follow in his footsteps. I went through rigorous training and was chosen, but unlike Zenobia, I'm an artificial user, Irina says. So you were the one that obtained one of those crystals to be able to wield a holy sword, huh? So without it, Minerva says, I would probably just be a regular exorcist, Irina replied. The crystal gave me the opportunity to go to Ko and see Issei again. Damn, he did want you, Minerva says. She chuckled. Yeah, I remember lecturing him about that technique. Anyway, I had gone through a blessing ceremony and celebrated. I was called to the Victon. It was there that an executive told me that I would be partnering with someone, which was Zenobia, correct? Invigold says, yep, Irina replies. So at the time, she was long-haired Bishojo, which I now see why Issei had teased me about being one. Anyway, she was called a lot of things, some of those names being the Demon of Destruction, Decapitating Princess, and of course, Violence Permitted by God, causing a twinge of pain to Invigold and Minerva for saying his name. Oh, I'm sorry. It's fine. But why was she called those things, Minerva says. Irina says, I heard nothing but bad rumors about her at the time, such as anyone that was comatomed with her got slashed by her, or how they got nearly destroyed over a simple argument, or like how they got nearly erased from this along with the devil. Naturally, I was nervous and trembled with fear because I could not wait to see my Issei again. Didn't you know the rumors about him? Minerva says. If you're referring to his perversion, I've always known about that, Irina continues, but it seems that many people did not know that. I was shocked that he had become a devil, which put us on opposite sides, which sucked. Sometimes I wished he wasn't a devil, so we could have stayed night in place catching up. I certainly would have corrected him like the church did for me. Honestly, I wish I had done more back then. Why is that? Invigold says. Well, I never really got along with Rias, and frankly, I can see why. She was stunting Darling's growth, using her body to keep him under her control and her whim. I guess until she felt like she had no use for him anymore, Irina says. Thus she cheated. professing love to another man. When she was with Issei, Minerva says. Even more, she didn't want to share Issei. She could have left him, so he could be with someone who loved him and she was willing to share. Uranus says, someone like you, Minerva replied. I already knew of his harem king dream. It was something that was passed down in his family from his grandfather. May he rest in peace. Of course, the church may not look fondly on being a glamorous relationship. I had my faith, but I also had my love, Uranus says. He said how you took his first kiss, Imogul says. That's right, I stole it when he was sleeping, Uranus replied. You know he wishes he was awake for it, right? Minerva says. Really? Uranus says. Yes, Minerva replies. That way, he would have known that you weren't a girl because guys don't kiss each other. That you weren't a girl. That you were a girl. That's what it's supposed to say. And he would never made a better promise to you. I have a feeling he would be rejecting a certain fallen angel if he knew of feelings. His sense of loyalty would have made him cling to them unless you found someone else. He'd also try to find a way to touch them, and he found someone that liked him. I'm sure you know of his surprise when he asked about Renaer. Yeah. We had been informed of the Red Dragon Emperor becoming a devil, but we didn't know how he became one. I never knew of his trauma, and he was using his perversion as a means to deflect it. It didn't help that Rias was letting us get close to him because of her selfishness. But speaking of selfishness, do you mind if I spend another night with Issei, Uranus says? No, I don't, Imogul replies. It's your rightful spot, Minerva says. Plus, you waited long enough, so you enjoy it. But remember, you will have to share the bed with us when you move in with us. I figured, Uranus says. Issei may cuddle you. He's told us about how you and Zenobia had the tendency to move around. Thus, he would find himself on the floor. Imogul says, yeah, it just kind of happens, Uranus says, blushing in embarrassment. I found it, Kano says, coming back with a burnt orange kimono that was like the sunset. Yes, it. But where's Lilith-chan? Imogul says, she's behind the window over there, pointing at the direction. How do you know that? Uranus says. I placed a tracking spell on her that allows me to find her location, teleport her to mine. Snapping her fingers, Lilith popped in front of her. Huh? Where did the food that Lilith was looking at go? Lilith says. Go figure, Minerva replied as she crouched on the Lilith's level. I thought we were looking for someone to wow your costs on. But the food looked good, Lilith said. Ugh, come on. Taking Lilith's hand to go back to the kimonos that she may like. Want to talk about us in the changing room so Kano could try on her kimono, Imogul says. Sure, Uranus says, as the three began to walk towards the dressing rooms. So you remember the first thing that Zenobia said to you. Why does she have short hair, Imogul says. Funny enough, the first thing that she said to me was, want a banana? Banana's a good snack. It becomes energy as soon as you eat it. Uranus says, ha, that's funny. Lilith likes bananas too, Kano says. It seems all dragons do, Imogul replied. Maybe I should bake banana bread for Darling one day, Uranus says. I'm sure he would love that, Imogul says. Still to this day, Zenobia has the same energetic and exciting sword style that a single hit would have done huge damage to me, and that was just training with swords, Uranus says. Now that power is amplified by Fafnir, Imogul replies. Well, I am powered by my little darling's magic. Back then, Zenobia had told me that I was the first person her age that could fight her equally. It made her happy, Uranus says. She was longing for someone who had skills equal to her, huh? Imogul says. That's right, Uranus replied. They watched as Kano went into the changing small to the change into the kimono that she picked out. I guess Issei was longing for someone to love him, Imogul says. He was. Underneath the perversion, he was looking for some romance. You're gonna finish. That someone he was longing for was you. You should have claimed him when you met him again, despite what Novia said to you, Imogul said. It's something that I regret, being conflicted about my feelings because he was a devil. My faith overtook my love that day. Then maybe things could have been different, Uranus says. Maybe so. So why did Zenobia cut her hair? Imogul says. It's actually the same reason why I cut mine, but she was saying that her long hair was getting in the way of her fighting. Among those who fought on the front lines, there were girls who preferred short hairstyle. If your hair was too long, the chances of your enemy grabbing onto them or being used as a medium for enchantment, and so on, Uranus says. Wasn't your hair long? Imogul replied. Back then, I was living in Japan. I liked playing together with Darling outside, so I kept it short, which is why he thought I was a boy. But then when my body hit puberty, I started to keep my hair longer. So right now, I was keeping it in twin ponytails. So what made you change it? Imogul says. It was back when I was in the shower with Darling. Irina replied. He noted that it would be easier if I stuck with a ponytail. I kind of understood why Zenobia did it because an enemy did make a grab at my hair, so I quickly cut my hair, then killed the stray that grabbed me. Zenobia was grabbed by an enemy, Imogul says. It was a vampire. It had her pinned. After that, she cut it, but also dyed the hair part green as a mean of fashion. She had that long hair that didn't really suit her, but the complaint growing it out again because Issei was infatuated with Rias, Akano, and Azia, who had long hair. Really, Imigold says. Yeah, Irina replied. She was already lectured by Grishilda-sama about using Durandal. The amount of holy power that she uses when she releases the sword is unbelievable. It got to a point that she could not use Durandal unless the higher-ups allowed it. But we continued to get paired up. It felt like the superiors believed that I could surpass Zenobia. I think you did in a way, Imigold replies. I guess. We did become friends, so it hurt when she said what she said, Irina replied. I'm ready, Kano says. What do you think? As she showed off her kimono, it was like a sunset, fading from the burnt orange to the gold at the edges. She also had a faded yellow ash. You look so cute, Kano-chan, Irina says. Like a mini sunset, Imigold replied. Nii-chan, Lilith wants to look like that, Lilith says. She became with Minerva. The relationship had a long way if Lilith was willing to call Minerva Nii-chan. Of course, she was aware that Issei planned to marry Minerva, so she might as well get used to calling her that. However, she still has Issei's blessings to eliminate Minerva if she does break Issei's heart in a way. Oh, will you come with the kimono that we got you, Imigold? You want to help her out, Minerva says. But she called you Nii-chan, Imigold says. You two need to keep bonding. Well, I'd like to talk to the first wife, Minerva says. Very well. Come on, Lilith-chan, reaching out for the girl to come to her so she could help dress her in the kimono in her hands. From what she could see, it was shades of purple like lavender that was similar to Imigold's hair color. She guided Lilith into the changing room so she could keep to help out the girl dressed in the kimono. Hey, Kano, let's take some pictures so we could show your mother, Minerva says. Okay, Kano replies, as she went to the blank wall where she could do some poses while Minerva took out her phone. So what were you two talking about, Minerva says. Just how I met Zenobia, when she keeps her hair short, which tied into why I cut my hair as well. Irina says, really? What's the reason? Getting caught by an enemy. It happened to Zenobia, and it happened to me. Necromorph, Minerva says. No, it was a stray devil, and Zenobia caught by a vampire. She was still defiant, Irina says. Oh. Before turning back to Kano, say cheese. Cheese, Kano says, as she posed while Minerva was taking pictures and acting like a photographer. Very nice, Kano-chan, Minerva says, while the Kitsuola giggled and smiled, posing for the camera. You're doing great, Kano-chan. So you ever wonder how things could have been different, Minerva says. Irina replied. If you were bold enough to confess back then, would you do it? Yes. Irina continues. I told Imigold the same thing. When she asked if I knew the rumors about him, I knew he was perverted. Plus, Obasan told me when we were at his house. I told her that I would have helped correct him. But yes, I would have confessed, but to add on, I would need to understand his trauma from the fallen angel and let him know that I love him and won't do anything to hurt him like she said. Irina says, wise words. I only fear if you wouldn't let us into his heart, Minerva replied. I probably wouldn't have done so, but darling trust you, so I will follow his judgment, Irina says. Thank you, Minerva replied. Nii-chan, look at Lilith, Lilith says, causing Irina and Minerva to turn. Lilith was dressed in a lavender kimono with a deep purple accent with white trim and a white stash. You look wonderful, Lilith-chan, Irina says. Come take pictures with Kano, Minerva says. Yeah, Kano says. It made Lilith smile as a little as she liked praise that she was given by these older women. She walked over to Kano and Minerva and once again began to take some more pictures. Of course, she was having to tell Lilith to smile, and she should do it for her Oni-chan and Kasan and Tosan. It seemed to do the trick. We should probably get our kimonos, Irina replied. We may need one of Orphis, but I think we can find a purple and black one for her, Imigold says. What color do you think of getting? Irina says. Well, I think I would do something that is royal blue, Imigold says. Really? Irina replied. Yep. My primary magic is water-based, so I would get something that represents it. Since Lilith and Orphis will be rocking purple, I don't need something to match my hair, Imigold says. Well, Irina gets cut off, waving a finger at him. While I was with Ula-chan, I saw some elemental kimonos that what you two need, Minerva says. Really? Irina replied. I guess we'll have to take her word for it. She's pretty good about this fashion stuff, Imigold says. In that case, let's find a kimono for her then, Irina says. That's a good idea, but what color base should she be? Actually, what color base is the kimonos that you found, Minerva-san? Irina says. Well, for you, Irina, it's white, and for Imigold, it's deep royal blue, like she was thinking of. Okay, so we need a little something different than those two, Irina said. Maybe a gray or silver. Maybe we can find something in the elemental section of the kimonos, Imigold says. Maybe we can, Irina replied. The ones that she was thinking about for us while we're at it. Imigold continues, as they left to try to remember where Minerva and Lilith had gone, while they had taken Kano to the changing room. Minerva should, but she had a feeling that they may look for something in the elemental spot like she had done. The designs for elements in the kimonos were interesting, of course. The ones that Lilith and Kano had made them look cute. She would have to adjust Orpheus because she went from the teenage form, so she was not the same size as Lilith anymore. Alright, do you two like the kimonos? Minerva says. They're nice, Kano says. Lilith likes this one, Lilith replied. Well, we don't have to settle on one now, do we? Minerva says. Are you sure? Kano replied. Of course. Issei would want the best for his little sisters, giving a smirk as she flashed what looked like a credit card. He'd also want the best for his potential brides, Kano said, as she gave a mischievous smile in return. Ooh, how you flatter me. What do you think, Lilith-chan? Minerva says. Don't spend too much or Oni-chan will get upset, Lilith says. How right you are, Minerva replied. The problem is getting those two on board, Kano said. Oh, I just got a kimono for you, Irina. You know, while we're at it, we should get one for your big brother, huh? Like an early Christmas present, Kano says. Exactly, Minerva replied. Lilith likes that idea, Lilith says. I knew you and I were destined to get along, Lilith-chan. Don't push it, Lilith said. She pouted. Lilith has Oni-chan's blessings to take you out if you hurt him. Aw, you'd never hurt your family, Lilith-chan, Minerva says, rubbing Lilith's head, making the girl look away with a blush on her face. Lilith hated to ever admit it, but she was liking Minerva around that she wanted her family to grow. If Miki would not be around, she would have Minerva there. When she bathed, it was Minerva that was helping her. It gave Invigold some relief, but Lilith already liked Invigold. She knew how Issei felt about the girls, so she had no problem with Irina either and understood why Issei would spend time with her. Alright, you two, Minerva says, let's go shop and get some food. And sweets, Lilith says. We can never forget about the sweets. And we can also have a girls' night, Minerva says. Would we invite Irina-san, Kano said. Of course, she is going to be moving in with Invigold and I. We must get to know her as she kept growing her potential sisters. I guess our dear Issei will be sleeping alone tonight, Minerva says, making Kano giggle. Didn't you promise that Irina could sleep with them? Oh, you're right, but she may be having too much fun with us to go back to his bed, at least for tonight, Minerva says. Lilith wants to watch movies, Lilith replied. We can do that, but you know what's better? A fashion show for your mothers. After all, it's girls' night, Minerva says. Alright, can we do more of them? Kano says, let's see how tonight goes first, Minerva said, as she ushered them back into the changing room so she could change back into her regular clothes and pick out more kimonos. When she looked out into the store, she saw Invigold and Irina conversing about something. When they looked in her direction, she only gave them a smile and disappeared back into the changing room area. What is it? Irina said as she saw Invigold give a shiver. She's planning something, Invigold said. Should I be worried? Maybe not, Invigold said. Does she always have something planned? Irina replies. Usually she does. I think tonight will be your christening. My christening? Irina says. Well, you are going to be moving in with us, so be prepared to find her in your bed one day, Invigold says. Oh, great, Irina replies. She rolled her eyes, which made Invigold laugh. Not like that, Invigold says. It would be more surprise you and keep you on your toes. If she wanted you in bed like that, she would make sure that she has your consent the night before in Issei's. So I guess I shouldn't be too worried, Irina says. No. Welcome to the house. Let's try to get through tonight, Invigold replied. Agreed, Irina says. As she spotted a silver kimono, what about this one? That looks nice. I think she'll like it. I don't know, but I know she'll make us look good, Invigold says. I guess there's something to look forward to, Irina replied as they both laughed and continuing shifting through the kimonos. Now we're going to Ross Weiss's place. Surprising the occupants for a little before the magic circle of who it belonged to. Issei stepped forward and looked at everyone who was gathered, and even an additional guest. It actually saved him some time now that she was there. I didn't expect this many people, Issei said. We were just visiting, so she chose to tag along as she had a feeling that you would show up, Sikiberi said, jabbing her thumb in Latia's direction. That's not very kind of you, Latia said. I felt the need to congratulate him on his victory. You already did that yesterday, Sikiberi says. She deadpanned, making Latia feel a little flustered. Well, Olivian and her knight, Baffle, smirked at the mistress teasing her cousin. Ha, she's right. But anyway, nice to see you, Biel-san, Issei said. Oh, hey, congratulations. You definitely got stronger, Bieffel said. Thanks, Issei replied, as he turned to the others in the room. It's an honor to see you again, Gondel said. Greetings to you, Red Dragon Emperor. You certainly have proven yourself once again, Gondel replied. I am glad you are here. There's something I would like to speak to you in private, Issei says. Well, if you say so, I will hear what you have to say, Gondel says. I guess it must be important. And congratulations, Rosweissa said, giving him a chested kiss. How are you feeling? I'm doing good. I still need to speak with Ajuka-san. To the fact that Latia is here saves me the trouble of seeking her out. Issei says, don't give her ideas, Sekigahara replied, as she could see Latia fantasizing about Issei needing her. Don't ruin my moment, Latia replied, showcasing the same cold aura that Sekigahara possessed. Yeah, definitely related. He was taken aback when he felt something collide with his body, giving some pain from the scar at Rias and Akano. Huh? Zenobia? Issei said. She never said anything, but she did sob into his chest. What? Issei replied. Thank you, Zenobia says. Huh? Issei replied. When you took down Lunar, it gave her a sense of relief, Rosweisa said. Oh, well, he had it coming. I know I was a pervert, but I wouldn't force myself onto any of you. There are just some lines that shouldn't be crossed. I know I have peeped, which can be treated as sexual harassment. I get, but have never gone to the lengths that he did. I think that's the closest I have ever gone, is dress break, which I can solemnly swear that I won't be using that move again, Issei says. Except in the bedroom, Latia replied. Except in the bedroom. Issei replied. Wait, what? Issei says, only making the others flash as Latia was smart, being capable of putting words in his mouth. The Harris certainly knew that she had a chance, and with Rias out of the way, it made her goal of attaining him that much easier. She had done her information gathering on him, and she knew that he was studying. It was similar to her uncle's interest, and if Azazel didn't screw up his relationship with Issei, it was his ballpark as well. However, she needed to know that his relationship with Irina was doing because she could not get close if something was already between him and the angel. How is your angel doing? Latia says. Oh, Irina? She seems fine. Why do you ask? Issei says. Are you sure of that? Women are not good communicators, my dear, Latia replied. What do you mean? Issei says. I believe she is asking if you are sure that Irina is okay. Women may seem fine, but on the inside, they may be not, Rosweisa says. Guess that makes sense. It was probably the same with the others. I thought we were fine, but they were not, Issei says. No, that's different. Don't blame yourself for something like that, Zenobia says. But you said... Issei gets cut off. I know what I said, and I was wrong, Zenobia replied, and you know that. I've told you that. You were perverted, and so was I. I even teased Irina about her trying to steal you away from me, but it was actually me trying to steal you away from her. I knew that you liked big breasts, and she outed you on that, so I knew that I could have seduced you, but I never factored in your own problems, you know, with Rainier and all, Zenobia says. That is true. It made it a little easier to understand that ordeal, Rosweisa says. I see, Issei replied, but I was honest with you. I wasn't going to hand over him to Elucid. That was my promise, Issei says. I know, you upheld your end. It was made me fall for you, though I wish we spent more time together, Rosweisa said. It's fine. I was blinded by Rias. It hindered my growth, with good portion of women, Issei says. I can attest to that, Latia replied, as she was one of the women that had been interested in him, but because of Rias, she couldn't really get close. Smack! Ow! Latia says, rubbing the back of her head as she glared at Sekigahara. The Agaris Harris felt a little sorry for her friend. Since he was in Latia's crosshairs, she was similar to Rias, as she held herself as a Harris, but behind closed doors, she was just a teenage girl. She could have gone for the rugged, handsome type, but something about Issei, his boyish looks, only tempted Latia. Unlike Rias, she was more willing to share a piece of his heart. So, she was very thankful for Devlin walking into Rias' life. She just didn't count on Issei having a childhood friend already infatuated with him. Are you okay? Issei says. Of course, my dear, but may I ask a favor of you? Since you need to speak with my uncle, Latia says. What is it? Issei replied, oh no. Sekigahara says, when you have time, I would like to speak with you. Perhaps could you accompany me on a date, Latia says. A date? That's it? Issei replied. Yes, that's all, Latia says. I'm interested in you, and as you know, it would give you time to get to know me. It can be something simpler like dinner, a walk in the park, or the beach, you know, a test of our compatibility levels, Latia says. I see. Well, I will have Seek-san contact you, Issei replies, or you should contact her directly yourself. Don't use me as a shield. Seriously, she's not like Rias. If that's what you're worried about, Sekigahara says. She's right. Your life experiences with Rainier and Rhea shouldn't hold you back. After all, didn't you ask out Rhea, Rosweisa says, making Issei blush. Well, it's just lunch, you know what I'm saying? Issei replied. It's still a date, Zenobia says, Issei, and although my opinion may not mean much, I think you should go for it. Gondel chuckled as Issei was berated a little, but they were in support of Latia being given a chance. She was aware that Issei being treated before, but Rosweisa did note that his experiences with his former girlfriends. It seemed that made Issei begin to think a little, as she looked at everyone around. Olivian simply shrugged his shoulders, while Biel smiled as they knew Latia was not a bad person. Okay, I'll contact you, Latia. But could you give me some time? I'd like to handle some things. Obviously, with Irina and I plan to surprise her for Christmas by going to see her in England. Issei says, no worries, Latia says. She smiled. From what I hear, she is the first wife. It's only natural that she must be attended to, but also this is your first time with her in months. A pity that you won't surprise me, but I can't wait, however. I will not wait as long as she did. I must say, 12 years waiting for someone she is very committed, that is something that is very important. I hope you learn from her in that department, so you can be assured that I don't plan to leave you, Latia says. I appreciate it. And also, Zen, Issei says. Huh? Zenobia replied. You can let me go now, Issei says, as Zenobia had clung onto him since she cried into his chest, while she had an arm around Rosvisa. Oh, sorry, I didn't realize, Zenobia said, blushing in embarrassment while mumbling at how stupid she was for not being more aware. It's fine, but another thing, I think we need to build a team chemistry, so we should go find some more bases and see what we can find, Issei says. I believe there are some outskirts of our faction, Gondol replied. That's a start. Thank you, Gondol-san, Issei says. I thought you would decline, Gondol replied. Because of Odin? Well, as the saying goes, the needs of many outweigh the needs of a few. Now, I can talk to you about these, as he brought out the blades that Zeus had given him, Issei did. I hear Odin did not want to give them over, Gondol replied. It wasn't his choice. As Zeus noted, Issei says, the blades were created by an Olympian god, not a Nordic one, but there is something about them that I would like to talk to you in private. You can speak in my room. It'll be more private, Rosvisa says. Thank you, Issei replied, as Rosvisa guided her grandmother and Issei to her room. Wait, Latia says, stopping them. What should I schedule for you to meet with my uncle? Let's do it tomorrow, and try to get the leaders, as many as they can, in Team DXD, Issei says. I'll let my brother know, so we can inform Sarah-org. Oh, sorry, I got the feeling that you may not like him, Biafil says. I would say that I am not so fond of everyone who supported their decision that night, Issei says. I can understand someone like her parents. I'm sure that if Rosvisa joined them, Gondol-san, you would be in support of her. Yes, I would, as she is my family, Gondol says. And I would understand because family does support family. When they insulted me and cheated, my family was there for me. It hurt because they forgot about me so easily, and that's what sucked. People die when they are forgotten. That night, the pervert they used for their own gain, he died. And they all saw it a few days ago. Very true, Sikivir replied. All right, I'll inform Ajuka-sama, Latia says. I'll probably only come with Irina, Minerva, and Magold, and already know what happened about with the necromorphs, Issei says. I suppose I still need to get stronger, Olivian says. Zenobia, may I join you in training? Issei, the one you call slashers have blades for arms, correct? Issei replied. I will need you to utilize your dual wielding then, Zenobia, Olivian says. Sure, Zenobia replied. Haha, it may help you in hand-to-hand combat as well, Zenobia, Issei says. Zenobia replied, right. I'll also help you, maybe your information, we can determine versatility teams for missions. Rosvisa says, indeed, but please continue to lead the way, as he turned back into the others. It was nice seeing you all, Issei says. With that, Rosvisa left the room, following her former Valkyrie, but once he was inside, Rosvisa prepared to leave. I can assume you don't want me here, Rosvisa replied. I would like you here. You're someone precious to me, but for this conversation, no, not now, Issei says. All right, I'll see you after you're done here, as she gave him a quick kiss and then left them alone with her grandmother. You helped build her confidence, Gondol says. I didn't do that. She did that on her own, just like I had to let go of my perversion, Issei says. Now what is it you wanted to talk about, Gondol replied. Well, on these blades, I wanted to know about these Nordic markings. That's it? You could have asked me about this with everyone present. Could you seal the room, Issei says. Just a moment, Gondol replied, as a large rune appeared on the ground and then it dissipated. There. Now the room is secured. Good. Now all I want to learn about these markings, no, that is not what I wanted you to talk about. You're probably the last one that I needed to talk to, Issei says. About? Engagement, Issei replied. What? Gondol says. I would like to marry your granddaughter. Issei, it got cut off. I know what it means. I'm just surprised. But show the blades first so I can think, Gondol says. Sure, Issei replied. He had the inking and he may be rejected, but showed the blade to Gondol. Now let's see, Gondol replied, as she studied the blade. These markings are enchantments. What kind of enchantments, Issei says. Well, you have powered your magic through them. No? Gondel replies. No, not yet. It's the first time that I have brought them out since receiving them, Issei says. Well, give it a try. Use your fire magic, Gondel replied. You seem proficient in that. All right, Issei says as he grabbed the blade and began to concentrate. Gondel watches Issei's eyes slightly amber. She watches the blade's edge in ruins, an amber red. Whoa, all right, Issei says. Due to his excitement, it spiked his magic, which caused the blade to combust as flames exploded in the ruins. Oh, Issei said as he moved the flaming weapon away, calming himself as the flames began to subside. Impressive. You perhaps can work on elemental magic, Gondel says. Yeah, I'll have to control it first, Issei replied. Now that's out of the way. What is it you wish to really see me about, Red Dragon Emperor? Gondel says. Please call me Issei. I wanted to talk to you about this, Issei said as he summoned the ring for Gondel to see. So it's reached that point, huh? She smiled. Issei continues. It feels right. Her strictness is something I need in my life. She even gave me her magic to journal to help develop my spells. When I told her I wouldn't let Elucid take her, I wouldn't let any guy take her. Sorry, my dragon side can be possessive, but I never understood why no other Asgardian didn't want her. Rose is smart, beautiful, she can be bashful, but she is a complete package. I would say she also lets her feelings show when she's drunk. However, I would be there to take care of those hangovers because that is what a partner is supposed to do. She also stood up for me that night. She didn't need to. After all, I'm the one who exposed her in public hallway at a hotel because I wanted to peep on some girls, Issei says. I heard about that. You also mentioned in the press conference. Tell me, how do you feel about seeing her naked for the first time? Gondel says. Well, you see, as he sighed, I don't know how to explain it. I told you she was the complete package. She's also way too mature for me. But I knew I needed someone like that. Someone to reprimand me. And she did that. And that is where we are going to stop. Now, I know that was, to be honest with you, that was still an hour. But I stopped in the middle of the chapter because it still has about an hour left. And my voice is totally cooked. So... yeah, please don't hate on your boy. I can only do so much, speaking, you know what I mean? I can't deep throat that up. Whoa. Pause. I was like, okay, but the point is that I can't read that much. This story is eventually coming to an end, and it's so freaking long. I think it's it might be the longest upload I ever have to upload if I upload in movie formats. I don't know if I even have enough storage for that, to be quite honest with you. I bet you guys will figure that out in a minute, right? If it blows up my storage. I bet future me is kind of cooked right now. But yeah, thank you so much for the support, ladies and gentlemen. And I was wondering if you guys wanted me to bring live streams back. I feel like I need to grow my long format audience again to be able to gain some type of audience to live stream again, because I stepped away for a while when I was in college, but now I'm actually back because I graduated and I'm basically full-time doing this, which is very fun. And I was like, but obviously it also is hard because, well, obviously I'm not going to do this. Well, I want to do this the whole entire time, but obviously I need to make more than what I am making now. But what I'm making now is fine. It's not bad. But thank you so much for the support, ladies and gentlemen. Tell me what you guys want, what type of stories, what type of content, even if you're even interested in those type of things, and you want me to bring the live streams back, let me know. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Spartanic Arts DxD out.